City Lights at the Movies in New York with Arthur Hiller's new comedy, Silver Streak. And we're here, and we're going to be speaking with director Arthur Hiller, stars Gene Wilder, Jill Clayburgh, producer Frank Yablans, and we'll be right back with Richard Pryor and Silver Streak right after this. We're in New York with 20th Century Fox on Arthur Hiller's new film, Silver Streak. One of the stars of the film, Richard Pryor. I'm really curious because your director, Arthur Hiller, was talking about the relationship that you share with Gene Wilder and that you shared on film and off film. And there's something very special in this movie that seems to be happening with you and Wilder. And I was wondering after seeing it, were you and Gene Wilder friends before this film began?
No, I never met him.
You'd never met?
I met him in Canada, in Calgary. First time we met. We liked each other instantly, you know, it was like genuinely, you know. So I guess it came across.
It sure did. There's a moment in the movie, the one where you're both taken to the police station, and you do a couple of very funny lines when the policeman says, "Where do you want to go?" And when you stand up and you're thanking each other, it's very moving. And suddenly no one's laughing. And I just wondered about the man you're giving us who meets Gene Wilder's character because he's a thief in the back of a police car. Had the character you were giving us ever had that kind of a relationship with another man where he could touch himself and say, "My buddy"?
I don't know. I was thinking in terms of the moment. Like, I assume that the character, being a thief in life, has had many friends. But I think just meeting someone who was square, and he kind of liked him. You know what I mean? It was not in his life, and they had shared a great adventure together.
Why does the character that you play decide, after having said goodbye, to go back and help Gene Wilder's character? What happens that we don't see on film?
Well, my thought was, the reason I wanted him to come back was the fact that it may have made it more, I thought he was less of a man to leave his partner, that's all. And I brought that to their attention.
But why take the risk? Why take the risk?
Well, if you share all that adventure with someone, you just don't leave them till it's over. That's the way I figure in life, you know. Men do that, I mean, you know.
Okay.
Men and women, I mean, you know. You share something with someone and you follow it through to the end, do or die. I mean, you may go away and, you know, think about that thing. It's not complete.
Okay. When I think of your comedy and I think of the television work, when I think of what you did with a man like Sidney Furie and some of your moments in Lady Sings the Blues, or when I think of the comedy that you and Michael Schultz brought together in Car Wash, did Arthur Hiller allow you and Gene Wilder any freedom in terms of improvisation? Were there things, for example, in that wonderful washroom scene that came out of Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, and Arthur Hiller said, "I like it, let's do it"?
Well, the scene was written, and it was already designed as to which way it was going. And we did it, but we did our work and added our personalities to it. I think that was the only thing that made it, you know, different in terms of what we did as actors.
But there was no. All that dialogue was script dialogue between the two of you?
Yes. There was a moment in there where I decided that I thought they were going to have a white man come into the bathroom after I left and think that Gene was black, and I said, I don't think that would be good because it's like he's fooling the people into saying, well, that's the way all black people are. But I wanted a black man to come in to know what was going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And to kind of say, well, I know you're in trouble, but whatever you're doing, keep the beat. You know what I mean? To make it that he's not fooling anyone. Not trying to fool any black people, at least, you know, or do an interpretation of black people, but that he's just trying to fool the police. I mean, keep it like that, because it's a very delicate scene. It could have went either way, you know, and it could have been bad. You understand?
Yes.
Kind of mock funny, but the way we did it, it worked.
You seen the final film?
No, I haven't.
Is it because you haven't had time, or do you avoid seeing your work?
Well, I want to see it with people. You know, I don't want to see it at screenings. I want to see it with a paying audience. I like that. sort of 42nd Street flavor.
You want to see it with civilians?
Yes.
Have you done much work in Canada? I'm not forgetting how much of Silver Streak was actually filmed in Toronto at Union Station, but as a performing artist, have you worked in Canada much?
I worked in Canada 15 years ago. I came from Buffalo. A gentleman, his name slips me, and I know it really hurts me that it does. Took me to Windsor.
Windsor.
And I worked in Windsor for a while, and I worked around Canada, and I got to Toronto. That was a big time for me at that stage. I went, who's my friend in Canada?
Who's the Canadian friend? Anybody got the name?
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you tell me the name later, whoever I'm sitting with, I'll say Richard Pryor's Canadian friend was.
Oh, Don.
We got Don. Okay.
My God.
You've done, we were talking about your albums, and I said that I had heard several of them, and I didn't realize that there were 5. But when the New York Times did what I still think is one of the best in-depth profiles on a performing artist that they did on you.
How about and Booty Star?
Yes. And all of that information came out on your work and your life and your background and all of the things that your comedy represents. And there was the definition of what you were doing on a stage, that you had a sense of comedy that had become a new kind of theater in America. Are you ever going to get that kind of freedom to give what you're giving on your albums and to a nightclub or cabaret audience in motion pictures?
Yes, I am.
Have you done it already? I mean, what about Greased Lightning? Is there any of that in it?
Yes, some of it. There'll be a lot of it in the next film I'm doing, The Which Way Is Up.
And who's directing Which Way Is Up?
Michael Schultz.
Who wrote it?
Carl Gottlieb. I'm having a terrible time with names today. Carl Gottlieb wrote it.
Okay.
Don Simons
is
the gentleman's name that brought me to Canada.
Don Simons?
Yes, Donnie Simons.
Okay, we've got that, and I think having established the Canadian name, I should thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. Richard Pryor, and we'll be right back with more on Silver Streak.
We'll have to do that as we close again, please.
Sorry.
Let's try after a 2-shot. Hold it. Come in a little bit. Okay.
Richard Pryor, Silver Streak, and we'll be right back with more.